All right, well, welcome everyone. This is the first episode of Grimbrook Tonite. Tonight's guest is Matt Stoll. Welcome, Matt. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your patience as we got some of the technical difficulties squared away
It's all good.
beforehand. So
It's all good.
I guess just to get started, for the audience to kind of get to know you a little bit better, my first question for you is pretty simple. Just kind of what inspired you to get into making music and being a singer-songwriter?
Um, I don't know if there's ever really like one specific moment.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people have that. Like they're like like I saw somebody play a concert one time, and I knew I had. For me, like it's kind of a combination of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Ones that I can really remember was like the obvious you know I always wanted to be a writer when I was a kid, and I love movies, so I was like I want to write and make movies and write scripts and stuff like that. So of course, when I first saw Back to the Future, Marty McFly at the end playing the guitar, playing Johnny Be Good, like of course, like I want to do that, and I
Right.
think a lot of my inspirations come from movies and watching stuff like that. And there was also a movie called Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg
Right.
that I don't know if like have you ever seen it? I know a lot of people haven't
No,
seen
I
it,
honestly hadn't even heard of it.
and I feel like it's crazy because it's Mark Wahlberg, it's Jennifer Aniston,
Okay.
and the story is kind of Mark Wahlberg is like a really good like heavy metal singer, and he's obsessed with this like heavy metal band,
Okay.
and he has like a tribute band. And the tribute band's like, well, we want to write originals. We can't, we're not going to go anywhere unless
Right. Right.
we write originals. And the whole time he's like, well, why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
It's stupid. I want to be this guy who's already there.
Yeah. It's like a Beatles
So
cover band or something. Like just run with
right,
that.
and it's interesting because like his dream comes true. Like the lead singer of his favorite band, like has a falling out, and the band is like, we're having tryouts. Come down to here. So Mark Wahlberg goes, and
And he already knows all
he
the
goes
songs.
and yeah, exactly,
Right.
and he fits right in, and he becomes the next lead singer of this band. And then things happen, like it's rock and roll. He gets caught up in all these different things.
Yeah.
He kind of loses himself a little bit. And then at the end of the movie, because him and Jennifer Aniston is like a love interest, and then they break up at the end. And towards like the very end, he kind of steps away from it. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go do my own thing, and becomes like a songwriter. And this big scene at the end where he's like in a cardigan playing acoustic
Yeah.
guitar, and he's like, I'm gonna write my own songs now, and then this big uplifting thing, and he's playing his songs, and then Jennifer Aniston walks into the room, and it's like that's the end of the movie, and it's just like I think that was kind of like I want to be a songwriter, I want to do my
Sure.
own thing,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, but other than that, like I said, like it's there's a lot of different things, but I think movies and just wanting to be a writer since I was a kid, that kind of just snowballed into I'm going to be a songwriter,
Makes
you know.
sense. Well, that kind of leads me then into my next question for you. As far as your process, the creative process of making music for you, do you have like a routine, or is there any specific spot that you constantly go to just kind of create that space for you to be creative?
Um, Not really. I think for like, there's no really rhyme or reason
Sure.
for me. It's when I feel inspired, it's not it
Right.
doesn't like I don't really do it where it's sort of like an everyday exercise.
Okay.
So if I'm feeling inspired, and I think a lot of times I'm a guitar player first, so
Sure.
um, I'm always playing on the guitar. So if there's something I feel like I'm playing and I'm like, oh, that could be something, then I'll start working on lyrics, or if I have like a phrase or something in my head that I'm writing or something like
Do you play
that.
any other instruments, or is it just mostly guitar?
Yeah, well, I mean, guitar is probably my main instrument.
Okay.
I also play harmonica. I
Nice.
just picked up the banjo.
Cool.
I can kind of play piano,
Right.
but um, that's really it. I mean, I love the guitar, and the harmonica too. I think the harmonica is probably, for a long time I thought it was kind of like lame to play the harmonica and nobody liked it, but like that was always kind of like my first instrument
Oh,
as a
really?
kid.
Okay.
Um, and then the guitar, yeah. So there's no real rhyme or reason or place. It's just kind of whatever I'm feeling inspired.
Cool. Yeah, the guitar is one thing I always wish I picked up. I mean, one, it's like the easiest thing to just bring around with you as opposed to like a drum set or a piano, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause like I grew up playing the drums, but there's no like you don't just go to an open mic and like bang the drums around, you know? Like it's so much easier
Right,
for
right.
someone to show up with a bar stool, a guitar, and a microphone and just go.
Right, and
But
you're good to go. Yeah.
so that's why I've always envied like guitar players for that reason.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first started playing, like my brother was actually my older brother was the first person to like play guitar, and every time he'd go out, with his friends or something like that, I would kind of sneak in his room and pick it up and play, and that was kind of how I discovered like, oh, I'm actually like I enjoy this,
Yeah.
and I'm good at this. I like doing it, and then he, kind of just like it was a hobby for him. He just kind of fell out of it.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to keep going with it and see where it is. But it's funny because I remember like in high school, I wanted to be like so cool. I
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of friends, so I always brought my guitar to
Nice.
school. And I remember, people would pick on me and tell me I sucked, stuff like that, like you're being mean. Um, and for a while, I mean, I started playing when I was maybe like 15, 16.
Okay.
And I don't think I really learned how to play guitar until I was maybe 19, 20. There was like a long time where I was
Yeah.
just kind of like, I can play these same four chords
Yeah.
till the end of time, but I'm never going to get past it. And then I think I just kind of was like one day I want to be a guitar player and just kind of like lock myself in a room and learn how to play, basic blues stuff. And
Yeah.
then from there, it just grew.
Well, it's funny you say that too about like playing the guitar, but not necessarily like learning how to play the guitar because
Yeah.
like I have one in my apartment and I'll mess around every now and again and like I always used to try and learn how to play songs, and my buddy who plays the guitar was like, dude, just learn how to play chords and you'll be so much better off because like
Yeah.
great, you know how to play that song, but like you can't do anything else with that. You know?
Yeah. It's true. I mean, but it's not easy. And I mean, it's definitely like, it's not an easy instrument to start how to like to learn.
But
You can, I mean, anybody I think can play, a basic 3 or 4 chords. But then after that, it's where it gets super tricky.
yeah.
And even me, like I consider myself a pretty good guitar player, but
Right.
there's so much I don't know,
Yeah, of course.
about it. So, but yeah, it's a fun instrument to play, and it's fun when you get something down
Yeah.
because you want to show everybody you can do it.
Of course. Is there any artist that, or really I should say guitar players specifically, that like you idolize and try and like not necessarily mimic their style of play, but just like try to attain their level? Like for like, I think of John Mayer or like Eric Clapton type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first real guitar player like for was a friend of mine had shown me BB King,
Okay.
and that was where I was like, okay, I want to be a blues player,
Yeah.
not so much just a guitar
Right,
player,
right.
a blues
Yeah,
player.
it matters.
And then after that, Muddy Waters, and Howlin' Wolf, guys like that, like it just was all about like the Delta, the Chicago blues. And then past that, Steve Ray Vaughan, Hendrix,
Okay.
Clapton, like
Yeah.
then it builds and builds and builds,
Yeah, of course.
And of course I was interested to John Mayer for a while too. Yeah, you can't not, you know what I'm saying? I have like a love-hate relationship with him. I always feel like I either love him or I hate him,
Yeah.
because it's hard to be like he's, amazing guitar player, amazing singer, amazing songwriter, and he's, this attractive like icon. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So it's like, and he's funny and outgoing and all this other stuff. So it's just like, damn, like I just want to be him.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
So, and then there's times where it's just like I can't, but yeah.
Well, so I guess I actually discovered your music through Nick, and I've noticed on Instagram you guys have been in the studio a couple times lately. So what are you working on now?
So right now we're working on an EP.
Okay.
I've been wanting to do it for a while. I actually took about 2 years off from music for a while. And the last 3 years, I think I've been working with Nick, just trying to find my sound, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Cause I've played so many different genres of music since I started playing. I was in, like, I think my first band was like an Avenged Sevenfold cover band, like that was like the first thing. And then from there, it was like a Paramore pop punk kind of thing.
Right.
And then then I got into the more blues and the indie rock and
Nice.
stuff like that. And I've always wanted to play, folk Americana music.
Nice.
I think that's always been there. My dad was a big Crosby, Stills and Nash fan and Allman Brothers. So like there's
Nice.
a lot of that kind of those stuff was like really intriguing to me. Um, and yeah, I just, you know, I guess going forward, um, it'd be really cool to do music like that.
Yeah.
And I've always had kind of like songs over the time. And so when I started working back up with Nick, the last, yeah, like 3 years ago is when we started working together.
Cool.
We did a couple singles and then we did a couple more singles. And I just kind of felt like every song was getting closer and closer to what
Yeah.
I wanted to do. And in this EP, I had a batch of songs that I felt were like, this is something I want to put together,
All right.
where they all fit. And he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
So
Is there any anticipated release date for that? Or are you guys still in just the production stage?
still in production.
Cool.
We recorded 4 songs
Nice.
so far. I think I want to do 6.
All right.
So there's obviously a few more. We have to kind of like flesh out, go over. And Nick's great. He's really one of my favorite producers.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people over the years, and to have someone that's constantly like pushing and in a good way,
Right.
trying to you know just make sure I'm the best that I can be, or and he's always about the song, and he's always there to help out. So it's great to have somebody in your corner for that. Um, and yeah, I think just gonna have 2 more songs,
All right.
and I'm not sure about a release. It's tough because
Yeah.
with COVID and everything, and having no idea when shows are going to come back.
Right.
I've put out a lot of music recently, so I don't know if it's something that I want to put out, or if it's something I want to kind of sit on and wait to put out and play. When gigs are back and venues are opening, to release it and then play those songs out, because that would be a lot of fun. I think they're this is also the first time that I've had a full band record with me
Nice.
on some songs.
All right.
So I've had some really great, talented musicians that have been on board with some of the songs and what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So we have a few songs that they're on, um, bass, drums, electric guitar, violin, all
All
kind of stuff.
right.
So it's very folky, it's very jammy,
That's
it's a
cool.
lot of fun. So I'm excited about that, and I would kind of feel like there's got to be a right time for me to put it out to where I can play it out.
For sure. Well, you mentioned obviously with COVID the lack of shows, but let's say pre-pandemic when you did have an opportunity to perform, were there any specific venues that you really loved performing at?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Amityville for a really long time.
Okay.
I grew up in Babylon. I went to high school in Babylon, but then after that, I moved to Amityville, and I was actually down the block from what is now Amityville Music Hall,
Okay.
and was also like Revolution.
Yeah, yeah.
And those were like some of the most fun like venues. I feel like Revolution had a great sound and had a big room. And then you had Amityville Music Hall, where it's just like a really intimate setting, and it's always a fun place to play.
Okay.
And I played there when it's been under a lot of different names
Yeah,
over the last
yeah.
10 years, but it's just it's a great spot to play. Other than that, I loved playing at the Brick House Brewery
Okay.
in Patchogue.
Yeah, yeah. I've been there.
I was in like this kind of like bluesy jam band.
Nice.
We played a few times there, and it's always fun because you play on a Friday night. It's on that main street there.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's out having fun. Everyone wants to go get drinks and stuff like that. So there's always people coming in,
Right.
and it's a really good opportunity to kind of play my music and have people listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll play to an empty bar, but
Yeah, of course. Right.
it's nice to have people who are out trying to have a good time, trying to listen to good music. So yeah, that's trying to think of where else. I mean, there's a lot of different places I've played, but I think those 3 is probably the best.
Cool. Well, to segue a little bit off of music, just to get to know you a little bit better for
Sure.
everyone that's listening and watching. I've noticed you're a pretty big Yankee fan. Is there any
Yes.
memory that you have, be it a game at the stadium or a time you got to meet a player that really stands out as one of your favorite Yankee memories?
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm Yankees are my team, but I'm a big baseball fan.
Sure.
So I'll watch anyone. I'll root for anyone. I'll root for the Mets. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of fan. But as far as Yankee memories, I mean, I did see Jeter play his last year. I went to a game in that last season,
Nice.
and that was fun. So in terms of like going to Yankee Stadium and
Yeah.
seeing someone, I think that was a good game. I went with my dad. It's always a fun day to go to the ballpark. I mean,
Yeah, of
no
course.
matter where it is. And my favorite Yankee memory, it's tough. I feel like I have a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like as a, I was born in '92, so I feel like the late '90s, early 2000s was like
For
all
sure.
about Yankees. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'd probably have to say, I think it was like Jeter's last game. He hit a walk off, and I
Yeah.
remember watching that, being like, "This is, did they script this?"
Right.
Because it seems
Exactly.
like so, you know, uh, it just seemed like, how is this possible?
Yep.
Like, of course, this is how he ends his career, the
Yeah.
walk off clutch hit.
Of course.
So stuff like that. Like I love, that's why I love baseball,
Yeah.
because it can be poetic, and it's just like one of those things where I believe in baseball gods.
Right.
There's definitely something there, because it just doesn't. It's crazy how things happen.
I got one more baseball question for you then, just given
Sure.
these rule changes and this just kind of popped
Oh
into it.
God.
Yeah, so I'm curious, how do you feel about this runner on second base to start extra innings?
it's it's awful.
Yeah,
I don't. I mean, I could talk about this for hours,
sure.
but I'll try and keep it as simple. But I just think there's so many things. I mean, last year with a shortened season, COVID,
Right.
and they want to keep players off the field. That makes sense. I get that. Manfred, the commissioner, is trying to also, not have games go longer, so to keep people interested. And it's like, I don't know anybody who wouldn't be interested in extra innings.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
that's
when it
like the
gets
best part
exciting.
of baseball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. So, you know, but again, like I said, last year I was like, okay, it makes sense. He wants people keep players off the field so it's safer and everything.
Yeah,
But then, to keep this rule and then to get rid of the universal DH rule,
right. Yeah, that was
which
huge.
should have been it's like that should have been a thing for 30 years ago.
Right,
Like, it doesn't make any
exactly.
sense why pitchers should be hitting.
Right.
Like, it really doesn't. It's crazy to me that they expect, these pitchers to be at such a high stage of their game, like DeGrom,
Right.
or like it makes no sense to me why they. And then you think about like the pinch hitting, that they got to bring in relievers. Like, it's a whole thing, and
Right.
it puts them at a disadvantage. And it's kind of it seems silly to me to get rid of that rule, but then keep the runner on second,
Yeah.
because it's like a blooper into the infield wins the game,
Yeah.
and that to me is like,
I hear you.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's
It's crazy.
frustrating. Well, hey, it's been great chatting with you. We should definitely do this again once you know what the
Absolutely.
EP release is going to look like. And
Yeah.
obviously, if there's anything else that comes up over the next few weeks or months and you have other things you want to talk about and jump back on here, then I'd be happy to have you. This was a pleasure. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah.
It's nice
Absolutely. You too.
officially meeting you. I know we've chatted back and
Yes.
forth on social media, but
Yeah.
this is our first opportunity really face to face. So, and hopefully, as things start to open up, if you're performing anywhere locally, let me know, and I'll definitely try and come by and check it out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.